Thank you to our sponsors for today's video, InfyPower, Amber, StarCharge, and Eaton. InfyPower is the largest EV charger module provider with over 3 million power modules running reliably worldwide. Their latest G2 collection features ultra-high power density and efficiency for EV charging and energy storage integration. InfyPower, innovation for your power. And Amber, providing modern protection plans for your Tesla's battery and more without the hassle of long-term contracts or upfront payments. Check out the link in the description to explore their plan options and use Spec 5 for a 5% discount on all plans. This video is also brought to you by StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world, and is also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage and microgrid solutions. And finally, Eaton. Eaton is a one-stop shop for implementing reliable and innovative EV charging infrastructure at your site. Across all applications, Eaton's EV charging infrastructure, hardware, and software gives you the scalability, flexibility, and intelligence you need to charge today and scale up tomorrow. Learn more at eaton.com/EVCI.
Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. Recently, I tested every single version of the Tesla Model 3 side by side on a 70-mile-per-hour highway range test. And you guys loved it. I really appreciate you watching that video. One major comment that came from it was, why did the Model 3 Performance not hit EPA? This was the only trim of the vehicle that didn't reach its EPA rating. But then also, how can you improve the range of the Model 3 Performance? Everyone was like, put the Aero wheels on the Model 3 Performance. And the problem is the Tesla factory Aero wheels do not fit on the Model 3 Performance. The fronts actually should fit, but on the rear, where that big rear caliper and parking brake integrated unit, the 18-inch Aero wheels don't fit on the 3 Performance. So I called up my buddies at Martian Wheels, because they are one of the very few companies who make an 18-inch wheel that actually fits a Model 3 Performance. I said, hey, can you send us a set? I'm going to put it on the OE tires. I'm going to run it side by side against a Model 3 Performance on its OE wheel and tire setup, the 20-inch setup. Let's go see what the range improvement is. So this is all about how the Martian Wheels MW08 can fit 18-inch on a Performance. Here it is. And of course, to see what the actual efficiency difference is if you needed to have a road trip set or a winter set of wheels. Guys, here we have it. Two brand new 2024 Tesla Model 3 Performances. I want to say a huge thank you to our friend Alex for loaning us his brand new Quicksilver Model 3. Actually, he brought his car up from New Mexico for Colton to detail it. And I said, oh, while it's in the shop, do you mind if I borrow your car? Put a set of these Martian wheels on here. And he said, go for it. Whatever tests you want to do, you have free reign. Huge shout out to Alex. And a huge shout out to our other friend, Brandon. This is his Model 3 Performance. And, you know, this is the same car we used in our all Model 3 variant side-by-side range test. So let's start here because this is the known quantity. And then I want to get into the Martian wheels. But this is essentially the 20-inch wheel and tire. Come on in, take a look at this. This is the 20-inch wheel and tire package that's delivered from Tesla. I have the Aero inserts in, which are optional. You can remove them for a little bit better brake cooling, and it does affect your range a little bit. I would love to do a side-by-side one day of these on and off, and actually if Alex had his stock set of wheels, I probably would have done that as well. However, Alex runs Martian wheels on his car as standard, not these. He runs the MW03s, a performance set of them, but these are the MW08s, and anyway, his car came up in the 03. So maybe another day for another test. One thing that was really interesting about the performance of this vehicle, not in a straight line, not on track, but in our range test, was it didn't do that well. It had the highest consumption of any Model 3 that we tested. So there's a couple of reasons why the Performance has a little bit less efficiency than the standard car. Well, first of all, it has a different rear drive unit. Now, it's not confirmed or denied that that new Gen 4, rear drive unit is more or less efficient than what's in the dual motor car or even the rear drive car. But it is a different motor in the back when compared with other Model 3s in the chain. It's no longer just a juiced up dual motor. And it has a completely different aero package than the standard cars. That's the biggest impact. You can see you have this lower splitter down here, a completely different rear diffuser. Come around the back, I'll show you. different than the standard Model 3s. You have this quite aggressive diffuser, you have this rear spoiler as well, and so some of these things are great for downforce, some are for reducing drag, of course, some are for increasing drag and pushing the back of the car down or suctioning it down. But ultimately, when we ran these side by side, these are the OE setups for the car. This car was the only of the Model 3 variants that did not reach its highway EPA rated range. Or I should say, it didn't meet its rated range while being driven on the highway at 70 miles an hour. And that was a curiosity. But at the end of the day, a lot of you commented, hey, put the Aero wheels on the Performance, or put a more efficient set of wheels and tires on there. And interestingly enough, if you come in here and look at the rear brakes on this car, you'll see a really juicy caliper and even almost sort of like a caliper cover. It's not all just brake pad material under there, but that is a juicy rear unit. And that is actually the biggest reason why the 18-inch Aeros, factory Aeros, do not fit on the Model 3 Performance. So I called up my buddy Drew, who owns Martian Wheels. He's been in so many of our videos and our races, and it's been great working with him over the years. Of course, I run Martian Wheels on all my Teslas, we know that. And he's just come out with this new set of MW08s. And come in and take a really close look at these, because they're really nice and they're really affordable. A full set of 4 is under $1,000 for a set of these things. They're flow-formed wheels. Drew could do a much better job of explaining them. They're incredibly strong and incredibly stiff, certainly not at the high performance, crazy lightweight end of the spectrum as his MW05 wheel that I love so much. But these are awesome, and actually I've ordered a set for our Model 3 long range rear wheel drive that I ordered for Jordan, and that will go on his car this winter. It's a fantastic winter set or just a secondary set. So this was the only way really we could get an 18-inch wheel on the Model 3 Performance. But of course the tire matters so much, because we're trying to show, you know, people who have the Model 3 Performance, who want the straight line acceleration and all of the other benefits with adaptive damper and the cool seats, but may not want the range hit, what the difference actually is between these two. So we've slapped on a set of the OE Hankook Ventus S1 AS tires. They are the Tesla OE tire, and they've been fully broken in. In fact, I pulled these tires off of my buddy Andreas's long-range all-wheel drive Model 3 because I didn't want to run a fresh set of tires. That's kind of unfair to this test. Tires need 500 or 1,000 miles to break in, usually around 500 miles, where they really put up the best numbers. And these have a few thousand miles on them, very comparable, maybe even a little bit more mileage than this car, but in the region. And so, yep, that is an OE Tesla 18-inch Aero tire on the Martian Wheels MW08 in the factory 18-inch size. Of course, Drew and Martian Wheels make 18 and 19-inch MW08s. They'll make any custom wheel you want with enough lead time. You just put in the specifications, they'll make it, which is cool. We actually did that with our Audi e-tron. They make Cybertruck wheels that are sick. I mean, they have a whole line of Rivian, Cybertruck, Tesla, Porsche, Hyundai wheels. For really any electric car that you're looking for, they make a wheel. Anyway, this is the best value, the MW08. Again, just about $1,000 for a set of 4. My dad's running them on his Model 3 Performance this winter. Enough of an ad. It's not really an ad. I just asked for a set of wheels to do this video for you guys. Let's go run through the testing procedures, get out on the road, and see how much range increase we have by running the Model 3 Performance on 18-inch wheels. Thanks to our little marshmallow Alyssa over here for filming. It is quite chilly outside, which ultimately what we're trying to figure out is not necessarily just how far the car will go, but really what is the percentage of efficiency increase between the two, which is why it was so important that I ran both of these on the same day at the same time in the same conditions. And then of course we can multiply the efficiency out times the usable energy capacity and even use some of the efficiency numbers that we had during the warm weather test. We'll get into all of that later at the end of the video. But Alyssa, I've left Climate on in Brandon's car for you, so warm up and let's rock and roll over to the charging station.
Guys, just to totally reiterate what we're using, I'm using the Martian Wheels 18 by 8.5 inch set. This really matches the original equipment 18-inch Aero wheel and tire size. However, the inner barrels, just enough clearance on the Martian Wheels to clear the Model 3 Performance brakes. I'm also using 235, 45, 18 tires, which we're using again the original equipment Hankook Ventus AS tire that comes on Model 3. And so this way we can have as comparable of a result as possible. The Model 3 performance is, of course, on its staggered 235 front, 275 rear 20-inch Pirelli tire setup. That remains unchanged. So guys, I'm driving the Model 3 that's on the Martian wheels at the moment. And, you know, a lot of you are going to ask, what about the degradation in performance? Do you have less grip? Do you have less road feel? Is it quieter? And I think more of that comes down to your tire choice than the wheel choice. Certainly with the set that we have on here right now, it's a much narrower tire, a much smaller wheel. And so the ride feels about the same, to be honest, maybe slightly better, maybe slightly quieter as well. This Hankook OE tire with the foam inside, that's really a good tire for daily driving and efficiency, but also not totally sucking in performance. I can launch this car, it's 38 degrees outside, and I'm at a pretty, 65% state of charge, battery's warm, and it won't spin the tires. Like, it's got grip. So I really like this factory OE Hankook tire, probably better than the Michelin Primacy all-season tire. That's the other alternative OE tire. That's why I really put the Hankooks on here, because I think it's a great tire. And yeah, it's pretty nice. Like, and actually not having the staggered setup is pretty cool. One of the things I think Tesla did that screws over a lot of owners is going with a staggered setup. It means, maybe there's certainly performance benefits to stabilize the car and to give the rear just a little bit more grip, but then also you can't rotate your tires. You can't get a set of winter tires easily for this car. You have to order 2 fronts and 2 rears, and that's not uncommon in the automotive space. I own many staggered cars, but I prefer the Model 3 chassis on a square stance. I really like the nose to have a bit more tire. I like the car to feel a bit more neutral, and actually I would say the car drives even more fun for sure on these Hankook Aeros than it does on the old performance tires, or I should say the standard performance tires back there. But ultimately in daily driving, unless you're reaching the limits of grip, an average normal person probably won't feel much difference between these wheels and tires and those wheels and tires, unless you get up into the performance handling characteristics, which you buy a Model 3 Performance, you should be pushing it and enjoying it. And certainly you can go with a much wider set of Martian wheels, but this is really for the range and the snow tire people. The 18-inch narrow wheels are perfect for if you're going to go on a long highway drive, if you do a lot of road tripping, or if you want to get a set of Nokian winter tires. A shout out to our sponsor here. And to me, the R5 EV, which they make in the OE Model 3 18-inch size, is like the perfect winter tire for this car. They are designed for high torque applications, and they're not totally incredibly cheap, if I'm honest, but they're incredibly high quality. And so that's why we run Nokian tires on everything, even before they sponsored us. And I got Jordan a set for the Model 3 rear wheel drive. We're going to be running these wheels and those tires, and it's the perfect winter tire setup. Anyway, let's get over to the charging station. I'll run you through the procedures of this test, because ultimately we want to make it as absolutely comparable as possible, where the only variable is the wheel size and shape with the Martian wheels. So let's jump up to the charger and do the test. Well, here comes Alyssa backing in the standard car. I drove over in the Martian wheels car, and man, super cool to have both of these here. It's so important when you do tests like this that you're trying to evaluate the variable difference between the cars, that you do them with the same battery temperature, the same pressures, the same everything. So before we pulled out, I set all of both cars' pressures to 42 psi all around, front and rear, on both cars. And that is really important, because that's what the door card says to do when cold. By the way, I actually think the Martian wheels look way better. Now, I think a lot of people are probably going to go for these in the 19-inch variant. You can see there's very, very little clearance on these. I mean, it totally works, but you have to have your wheel weights. Definitely, if you get black wheels, do black wheel weights. Discount Tire will typically do them upon request, or whatever tire installer you want to have done. But just don't put them in the middle of the wheel. If you go for 18 inches, it should clear up front, but in the rear, it's really freaking tight back here. It definitely works, but look at that clearance. We're not working with much. And so you want the wheel weights to be all the way to the front or all the way to the back of the wheel, not in the middle of the barrel, which sometimes they do, even though I don't think that's typical standard practice. So Alyssa's 3% lower than I am. We're going to DC charge. We've been preconditioning the batteries. They should be at roughly the same temperature. We're going to DC charge both cars to where they click off at 80% state of charge. And
yeah, then we'll head out, set every single setting, option, variable in the car to be the same. And then we're going to do roughly 60 to 70 miles side by side to see what the real efficiency difference is between the two. So, Alyssa, what state of charge are you at over there? 57. And it says waiting for EV. Do you have your charge limit set? All right, well, anyway, we'll get the cars charging. I think, is the charge limit set too low? You have it set to 80? Okay, weird. Anyway, yeah, we'll get both charging and then we'll run them side by side and the results will be soon to follow. We have both cars DC charging now and we're going to go to where the charge limit cuts us off at about 80%. Well, I have it set to 80%, but I've noticed a little bit of BMS sway on this, but that's okay. Ultimately, we'll be looking at that efficiency calculation, but we're trying to remove as many variables as possible. One of them being battery temperature, which is why we are DC charging to the same state of charge, because Tesla does warm and heat the battery to different temperatures depending on your charging power and what state of charge you're charging to. So all should be good. And I'm very much looking forward to hitting the road and seeing what the differences are as soon as we get up there. So great. We'll just charge up now and I'll let you guys know when we're ready to rock and roll. Alyssa, we need to decide on all of the exact settings like we did in the Model 3 range test for this particular drive. Everything has to be set identically between the two cars. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, let's run through the list. We're going to go controls, headlights on. It's going to get dark out, and so we're just going to force headlights on for the whole thing. We will then go to dynamics, and I think we're going to go just chill acceleration, standard suspension, steering in light, and apply brakes when regenerative braking is off to off. Or when regenerative braking is limited, I should say. Sound good? They won't be because we'll have full regen, batteries are warm, everything's good to go. Charging, of course, we have set to 80%. We're just going to use basic autopilot. We're going to run the same speed, which will probably be 71 indicated. That car might be a little bit off, but we're going to run 70 GPS. I think the overall diameter stays pretty much the same between the two. Other than that, we'll run accent lights on or off. What do you think?
Off.
Off, really? I think it looks so much better with them on. What color would you like?
Purple.
Purple? All right.
That's pink.
That's pink? Oh, hit purple then.
Bright pink.
Okay. There you go. Nice. And yeah, everything else we'll just keep in automatic. That's all good. The biggest draw of energy, of course, is going to be our climate control. And so we're going to run, what do you say, 70 degrees automatic on the low fan with rear climate off, but no heated seats or steering wheel.
I can't get one bacon bit.
We can run one bacon bit on the seat if you'd like.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
That would be preferable, this one.
Okay, so that's how we'll set up both cars. I'll do the same over there. We're getting very close to leaving. I think both cars are at 72% right now, so we have them timed perfectly.
Yeah, this thing's ripping.
Yeah, it's doing great. So, yeah, let's get, I'm going to get to the other car, set it up. As soon as we complete, we'll hit the road. And also, we're going to, of course, end destination so it doesn't precondition to anything. I just completed at 80% state of charge. I have climate off right now, but we're, of course, going to reset the trip computers when the time comes. And I think Alyssa is at 79%. So anyway, we should be able to hit the road here in just a second. Oh, her car is done charging right now. Perfect timing. We completed right at the same time. You got climate off and everything? Thumbs up. Great. Alyssa, you ready to set these things up?
Yeah, we might be able to do 72. I was feeling a little cold at 70.
We can do 72. I'm going to get mine started now. So 72, auto low, rear fan off, front passenger vent off. Got that? No? Yes? Good. Thumbs up. Okay, we're going to just run through the settings really quick. We're going to run chill. We're going to run basic autopilot. Shouldn't really make a difference. Blah, 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 blah. Everything else can kind of stay the same. We're going to run headlights on. And tap to activate drive. You're in drive. Okay, go to trips and reset your trip. And ready? We're going to do it at the same time. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Reset. Good? All right, I'll lead on the way out. You lead on the way back. Let's do it.
Here we are merging onto the highway. Alyssa is right with me in the rearview mirror. Perfection. We're just going to match our speed. She's not going to draft too closely. We're going to swap positions on the way back. So I'll follow her. So there's no aero advantage for one car or not. But always we have poor efficiency on the uphill here as we head up into Wyoming. You guys know the drill in our efficiency loops. And then we will have better efficiency on the way back. Again, we're going to run 70 miles an hour because that's what we do in our highway range tests. But this, of course, is going to be less, I don't know, it's just cold outside. It's 37 degrees out, so you wouldn't get nearly as much range as you would on an 80-degree day. Even though we've warmed up the cabin and everything, there's heat pumps, there's heat scavenging, so it shouldn't be too different, but certainly, you know, greater air density and things like that will make an impact, and just the cold overall will as well.
Alrighty, got everything set up. Creeping up to speeds, just trying to create enough distance between Kyle and I so I am not drafting him. So I've set it all the way to the furthest distance, and yeah, it's just creeping up. 71 is 70 indicated on Waze is what I checked. So once we get there, we'll be fully set in stone and ready to go, and yeah, we'll just be going up into Wyoming. Hopefully it doesn't snow. We're supposed to get pretty dumped on here soon. So good thing it's not a full range test and just a little snippet.
One nice thing, both Alyssa and I are set at 71 indicated, which is 70 GPS. It seems that changing the wheel and tire did not change the overall rolling diameter. She is set to the farthest away adaptive cruise control she can possibly get. I will do the same following her on the way back, so there's no aero advantage. And yeah, car's unbelievably quiet, nice riding. I think get the performance, get 18-inch wheels for wintertime and road trips. You've got yourself the best of all worlds. We are just approaching the Wyoming border here in the Martian Wheels car. Alyssa still right behind me over there. And we are at 331 watt-hour per mile as we cross the border. Really curious to see how she's doing. I'm not totally sure, but 331 seems really good considering it's cold and we've gone uphill. And of course, we still have to lose the elevation when we make our loop at exit 7 up ahead.
All right, we are just passing into Wyoming here, and here is the efficiency data. We're getting 361, which was a lot better when I started. I was in the 400s when I first began, so that is getting better. Yeah, just cruising along here, absolutely no issues. Kyle was right with the ambient light. It does look very, very nice. I do love a good purple ambient lighting. So yeah, that's the data as of right now. 22 miles in and roughly 40 miles to go.
We are reaching our halfway turnaround point, and right when I duck under the sign is when I'm going to let you know my efficiency. It's looking pretty damn good at the moment. And 3, 2, 1, we are at 313 watt-hour per mile here in the 18-inch Martian wheel car.
And here we are, just turning around here. This is a good turnaround point. I'm sure Kyle have already explained why. You can just go, and you don't really have to stop. And here are my efficiency results as of right now. So the next thing that's going to happen is I'm going to get in front of Kyle, and I'm going to duck behind him, and then, or no, he's gonna duck behind me, sorry. Long day, but yeah, that's what's next. So we're gonna get that going and moving, and then yeah, end this test here pretty soon.
Alyssa passed me on the on-ramp. We'll get up to speed, and then, you know, if there was any slight benefit of her running ahead, well, now we'll be, or with us running ahead, I should say, now she'll be running ahead, just to make it as fair as possible midway through. There it goes. Let's gently get up to speed. And even if she gets a little bit ahead, that's okay. We don't want to be super close. Gentle accelerations up to 70 miles an hour. And we'll see you guys back at the ending for the final results. really, really freaking curious to see how this goes. We are 1 mile from ending our test and about 60 miles of driving. I think it's technically 57.5 miles, but maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. I don't remember exactly, but we've done the same thing. We've run the same speed. We've run the same settings, and it doesn't get better than this. Certainly, both cars would do better in warmer temperatures, but that's not the point. It's all about seeing the percentage of efficiency difference from just the wheel change. And, well, I'll wait till we get up to the sign because I asked Alyssa not to share her results until she passes the exit sign up ahead, and that is when I'll let her go, and then I will share my result.
All right, we are just now passing the Wellington sign, and here is our results. I am at 57% here. Oh, can't see anything, can you? 57%, 58 miles gone, 17 kilowatt hours used, and 293 watt hour per mile. That's pretty good, but I hear Kyle's is a little bit better, so that's an interesting result.
We are coming in for the final check of the Martian Wheels test. So Alyssa just gave you her number. I am at 254 watt hour per mile in the same spot. She's right there in front of me. Absolute perfect test, 254 watt hour per mile, and I'm at 61% state of charge. Great result here, I hope. I have no idea how she did. I'm gonna guess 12% difference. That's just what my gut feeling says. But of course, I'll analyze the data here in just 1 second. And there we go. So now we can rip it. We no longer have to go slow. Full send. Oh, we're in chill mode. I was like, why is this thing so slow? Well, there you guys have it. Putting 18-inch Martian wheels with, of course, the OE tire on this car makes for massive improvements in range and efficiency. Honestly, about 5% more than I thought it would. 13.5% benefit plus or minus. That means that this car, which did 288 miles on a single charge, actually would have completed on that same range test with the same usable capacity at well over 300 miles. You're talking 315 to 325 miles, somewhere in that region. So a significant bump in range, would blow past EPA with these by far, and definitely, I think, is a great second set of wheels to have for just around $1,000, ready to rock and roll. That's the move.